Today I'll talk about mathematical basis of fuzzy C-means cluster algorithm. It is part of my lecture series on machine learning. So fuzzy C-mean cluster algorithm is one of the clustering algorithm that is an unsupervised machine learning. In non-fuzzy clustering, also known as hard clustering, data is divided into distinct clusters, where each data point can only belong to exactly one cluster. However, in fuzzy clustering, data points can potentially belong to multiple clusters. For this lecture, I have taken inputs from this resource. So if let us say we have a two-dimensional data set and there are two clusters, let us say, and if this is the point I and these two asterisks are centroid of, this is centroid of jth cluster and this is centroid of kth cluster. So there is a distance of this point from the centroid of the j cluster, whereas similarly there is a distance of this point from the centroid of kth cluster. So let us see what is fuzzy C-means clustering algorithm and what is the mathematical basis behind it. So let us define centroid. So if let xi is a point in a set of n points, let us say if our data set contain total n points which are divided into various clusters, then centroid of kth cluster is given by the weighted average of all the points, and these weights are nothing but the coefficients. So this Wik is coefficient of ith point with respect to kth cluster. So this is the centroid of the kth cluster. So coefficients of weight, what are these? Coefficients of weight varies between 0 and 1, where each element Wij tells the degree to which the element xi or point xi belong to cluster Cj. If this is the cluster Cj and this is the point I, then Wij tells us about the degree to which this point belongs to this cluster and not to this cluster. So it depends on the ratio of the distance between the point with respect to the cluster in consideration and all the other clusters. So hyperparameter m, which is nothing but this m in this formula for the coefficient or weight, this m is hyperparameter for our machine learning algorithm. So m range from 1 to infinity. If m tends to 1, then fuzzy C means becomes similar to k means. Usually m is set to 2. Higher the m, more fuzzier are the clusters. This is the objective function of our fuzzy C-mean clustering algorithm. So what is the algorithm? The fuzzy C-mean algorithm is very similar to k-means algorithm, except for the weights or the coefficients. So the first step is we choose a number of clusters. Then we assign coefficients randomly to each data point for being in the cluster. We repeat until the algorithm has converged, that is, the coefficients or the weights change between two iterations no more than a defined epsilon. Then we compute the centroid for each cluster at each iteration, and for each data point, we compute its coefficients of being in a particular cluster. So these two steps are repeated in the iterations until the coefficients are converged. So this is about the algorithm and mathematical basis of fuzzy C-means clustering algorithm. Thank you very much.